that mental barrier for anyone who's in a similar position.
I would highly recommend trying at least.
I look at it as input and output metrics. Chatted to customers, chatted to people walking by about our products and our brands. All right, what's up guys? Week 3 of the cut, I'm weighing in at 78 kilos, a little less. So kind of on track, which is great. It's funny though, each day the fluctuations are pretty funny to see. Like some days I'm 78.9 again, so pretty much 79 where I started, and then some days I'm 77. So I think it's largely because it's such a small differential, like in terms of how much I'm trying to actually lose in this cut, and like little things like bowel movements, stuff like that make a huge impact. Now obviously I try to weigh myself at the same time, the same way every day, so just in the morning when I wake up. But yeah, sometimes my bowel movements aren't always the same, so sometimes that could be impacting the numbers. Anyway, been a bit sick this week, as you might be able to hear in my voice, but we're carrying on. And it's interesting, that mental barrier for anyone who's in a similar position where when they get sick, they're like, do I push it a bit more? Like, could I go do a workout, or will that set me back even longer? And it's so hard to find that line. I found, unfortunately for me, that when I do kind of push it every time I do, because mentally I fucking can. I can easily go to the gym now, I'll go for a run now. But every time I do, when I finish that thing where I'm pushing it, it does set me back most times. Not all the time though. So then it's like, how far can I push it? So it's that mental challenge there, which is killing me. But I think I've learned more times than not, it does set me back. So I'm gonna try and rest up. So I'll still do my 2 workouts, but just pretty much walks, 2 walks a day right now while I try and get better. For this video, I'll take you through a bit more of the business updates. We've got a Mr. Vitamins Expo, which I'll try to film a little bit. Mr. Vitamins is a retailer in Australia where we're currently stocked for the old brand, which is called 2X Espresso, and they're doing an expo in Chatswood. So what that'll entail is just a booth and sampling, stuff like that. So I'll try to get someone to film a little bit of that to show the process of that. But essentially it's just packing a bunch of samples, getting your pitch down, talking to customers. So I do like it. As an introverted extrovert, these things are always great to kind of get me out of my comfort zone. It's a forcing function to talk to customers, which is at the end of the day what any business leader or owner should be doing on a daily basis, to be honest. So it's always really good to do these things, and I don't always want to, but whenever I do, when I finish them, it's always a great outcome, and I'm happy I did it. All right, I lie. I felt a bit better, so I'm gonna attempt to run. Maybe this is a good test to see if I get sent back or if I start to feel better in the next couple of days. So we'll see how we go. All right, finished up the run. I was splitting about 450 throughout the whole run, apart from the end where I was splitting at about a 5 pace. So I ended up at a 456 pace. So I slowed down a bit towards the end because my heart rate was getting a little higher. I think that's just because I'm a bit sick / I was going a bit faster. So I've noticed recently that keeping my longer runs, so anything that's not like a sprint, below my zone 2 heart rate, which for me is about 160-ish or a little lower, 159, has been game changer in recovering faster like the next day and being able to run more and longer without your legs starting to get sore. So for anyone who's starting running, if you want to get your mileage up, go above your zone 2 heart rate. And it is a little bit hard at the start because you just want to go fucking fast, and maybe other people are going faster around you, but I would highly recommend trying at least, and you have to try it for a solid month or 2 to see, like, are you actually recovering faster? Are you gaining mileage without your legs getting sore? Yeah, highly recommend. Alright, it's second last week of the cut, and I'm keeping my calories at about 2,300, which is what the deficit that I started on was. We're still on track to get to the goal weight of 77 from 79. So brekkie this morning is 2 eggs, about 200 mils of egg whites, half an avocado, which is about 70 grams, and probably some Wheat Bix and honey, because I'm all out of bloody Chobani light yogurt and protein, which I really like. I definitely love tracking calories. It's a bit of a head fuck for me at least. And obviously it gets a bit mundane and like kind of annoying from a few different viewpoints. Annoying in that you want to track everything, so you have to always bloody track it. You have to actually get your phone out, scan the barcode, or if it's not there, put it in your phone, put it in MyFitnessPal, etc. But then also it's annoying in the sense that you now kind of know, oh, am I over, am I under? You're always kind of thinking about, so it takes up a fair bit of like compute in your brain, at least for me. I'm sure it doesn't for everyone. So I definitely don't track my calories every day when I'm just normally living, but obviously I do when I'm doing a cut. And all that being said, I do think it's very interesting, and I would recommend people do it for a little bit so you get some sort of mental model on what foods are what in terms of not only calories but more importantly macronutrients, so like what kind of foods are high in protein, high in carbs, high in fats, etc. So keen to not track when I'm off this cut and kind of just live a little bit more normally. But again, now that I've tracked, I kind of know what meals throughout the day have what kind of macronutrients, protein-wise, carb-wise, fat-wise, and even micronutrients, so what foods are high in fiber, etc. And I can kind of just have a mental model that I can use throughout the day when I go out for food and stuff like that, which allows me not to have to track, but still be able to maintain some sort of, healthy lifestyle. So I just wrapped up the Mr. Vitamins Expo yesterday. So what it was a bunch of brands in all different categories within their store. So you had supplements, nutrition, you had skincare, and a bunch of other categories. And just being there in the Corso area of Chatswood, and we gave free samples and chatted to customers, chatted to people walking by about our products and our brands, was able to get some feedback on taste, on feeling, etc. At the end of the expo, another brand owner asked me, do you think it was worth it? Like, how do you gauge on whether this is worth it? And it was a good question because it's very hard to track things like that, meaning we weren't able to sell anything at our booth. We would then direct them to Mr. Vitamins if they wanted to buy straight away. But obviously there's a bunch of people who may try products, not buy straight away, buy later, etc. So it's hard to track from a sales perspective, but I look at it as showing up and showing the retailer that I'm committed and I want to talk to customers, etc. So there's a huge relationship driver there. And then also the fact that I got to talk to people one-to-one. And then another third order effect, I would say that the expo was worth it, was meeting the other brand owners. We even chatted about doing collabs and stuff like that. So if you were to try to track it at direct sales, it probably wasn't worth it. There was no return on my time straight away. There wasn't any monetary investment, so there was no need to look at return on investment. But in terms of return on time, there wasn't anything straight away, meaning there wasn't uplift in sales. One thing we can look at is I can contact our rep at Mr. Vitamins and make sure that sales have increased in the next couple months from this expo, and that's a good way to see what was worth it from a sales point of view. But like I said, there was a bunch of other things that made it worth it from my end. These things are always good to do. Alright, so I said in my last video that I might shed some light on some of the freelance work that I'm doing. So just for context, I do e-commerce consulting and digital advertisement consulting. So one thing that might be interesting to people is a bit of a problem we're having for a client right now. They have two countries that they serve. So they have Australia and then they have the UK. In Australia, they're very dominant. They have a really nice social presence, organic social presence. So their traffic to site, meaning just overall people that are coming to their site, about I think 60 or 50% of that comes just organically, and then 40% comes through paid channels, meaning that it doesn't cost a whole bunch to get people to site, which is great because it means we don't have to spend heaps on advertising to get their desired results. Now, as we scale up, we're going to have to spend more, and we'll try and kind of balance the organic side growth as well as the paid side growth. But they built a really nice organic following, which are reaping benefits now when we look at paid advertising. Now in the UK, it's a different story, and we're seeing a lot less efficient cost per acquisition, meaning what's it cost for us to actually get someone to buy. And it costs a lot more because about 50 to 60% of traffic is coming through the paid channel as opposed to the organic channel. So you see that we have to pay a lot more to get about the same or less customers to their site, and then only a certain amount of those customers, those people, convert, meaning actually make a purchase. So it's an interesting thought, and again, it's actually a reason I'm building my social presence for my business, because it takes a lot longer, but in the long term, it will reap a lot of benefits from an overall marketing spend point of view. And so you may have to spend a little less than some other competitors on getting people to your site through ads. There's some other metrics that you look at in regards to like why a business isn't doing so well. And so I'll just share this, and I'll obviously blur out the client's name. But when I look at data for a business, I look at it as input and output metrics. So output metrics are stuff like revenue, where it doesn't really show you the underlying story. It's just a metric that we typically are tracking and we want to hit, usually an objective metric. So for instance, $25,000 for October. So from the 1st to 28th. If we're not hitting target, so we're actually down 19%, we need to figure out why, obviously. And that's where the input metrics come. Sessions, which is total traffic to your site, is an input metric, because that's got to impact what kind of revenue we see. So if we have less sessions, that means we're going to get less overall orders, most likely, meaning we're probably going to get less revenue. You also have your conversion rate. Even if we get heaps of more sessions, but we're converting them at a lower rate. So if we get 100 sessions and we're only converting at 1%, we're going to get 1 order. Versus if we're at 100 sessions and we get 10%, we're going to get 10 orders. So that's also an input metric. And then you've got average order value, which is how much money on average is people spending per order. So this is also an input metric. And so like at the very top level, I look at these 3 metrics to get a mental model of where the bottleneck might be if we're not hitting target, or if we're hitting target, what's doing really well in terms of these metrics. And you can see quite clearly here, that our conversion rate's pretty strong, it's up, and that typically is impacted by a lower store session. So there's nuances here. And then our average order value is flat. But if you look at store sessions, it's down to 40%. Okay, so now we know that this is probably the metric that's leading to most of the target not being met. And then we can scroll down and use other channels and see where, in terms of channel data, is that drop occurring most. And you can kind of just see that there is a logical kind of process, and there is data that really tells a story. You just have to be able to connect the dots appropriately and know what to look for, and then ask questions. So this is one of my go-tos when you're prepping dinners and lunches within a cut. Super cost efficient and really good macros for both a cut and hitting your protein goals. So it's just about a kilo of chicken breasts from Woolies or Coles, which is like $17. The veggies, so you get carrots and broccoli, and what you do is chuck all the chicken breasts on a oven tray, get whatever spices you want. So just put a little bit of olive oil over the chicken breast, then put the seasoning over, chuck it in the oven for about 20 minutes. 20 to 23 minutes I found is the sweet spot, so that your chicken isn't dry, and then you're done. So this prep is super quick and super cost efficient, and you'll get a crazy amount of volume that you can use within your dinners and your lunches throughout the week.